Jesus, this guy.
I actually just stood off to the side. I was just trying to bring it back to the old times for the finale.
All right. How's it going, everybody? MrGarrell, the Bounty Hunters. I always forget to say this. Yeah. If you want to watch us live, always Thursday, 7:30 God's time, 8:30 Heathen time, also known as Eastern time. You can watch us on Twitch, but pretty much every day the next day I do upload it back on the YouTubers. So yeah, you can always catch us there. And tonight, the Canadian, what are we doing?
We're finally capping off the Ahsoka reviews with the finale and giving our thoughts on how the episode went, as well as our general thoughts on the whole series after the 8 episodes.
All right. So what we normally do is we give you a little overall, no spoilers. You're going to 100% know when the spoilers happen. So we'll just start off. If you would like to go first, tell me what you overall think.
I mostly liked how the finale went. I had definitely grievances throughout it, which we'll talk about.
We got grievances against you people.
General grievances. We'll be talking about as we get to spoilers. But overall, I was happy with how it ended, how it set up the either the movie or if there could be a second season. I'm not sure how they're aiming the overall storyline. I was happy with Ron, with Ezra, and I was happy with generally with a lot of the stuff in it. Again, the grievances are gonna come. I can't say any of it without being spoilery. But it's also sad how things get left off again with Ray Stevenson dying and how his character kind of gets left in an open-ended way. Don't really know how
the bed on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of really awkward where we don't know. They might just recast. They might just leave it as where it is, and it becomes a super open-ended idea. But again, that's all spoiler talk. Not much else I can say. Otherwise, I'll probably give it a good 6.
Very interesting. I don't think 6 is that far off. If you had asked
the last episode was 5 for me, this would be a 6.
So I enjoyed watching the show all the way, beginning to end. I didn't hate it. I wasn't asking what's going on. I wasn't burning my toys in the driveway like on Boba Fett at times. And I did enjoy the episode, but I would say the last one to me, I said it was the theme would be what was the point? And this episode it left me wanting and waiting for when it ended. I was just kind of like, what's going on? And I want to say, I think it's still a time restraint. Oh, he left me. How dare you, sir? How dare you? I want to say it was probably due to snap my own existence. I didn't like where he was going with that. It sounded like he wasn't going to agree with me, so you got to kick him out of there.
Apparently, I did not know what you wanted to say. I just wanted to jump out of that. That was perfectly timed. Whatever happened there, the internet.
So I think I want to say I still believe it to be time restraints. It doesn't make sense. The pacing of the show doesn't make sense when you have those basically 3, you could say, but definitely 2 that are rocketing in the atmosphere with holy crap. They're introducing Ezra. They're introducing ba 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 ba, and then the last 2 was just kind of there. It was just kind of
petered.
I don't know. It just seemed like I want to say it's time constraints. And the more I thought about it, the more I think the reason why if we had done this live or a live thing, it would not have gone well. All right. YouTube would have probably put a freeze on the count for a second. And I think the reason is why is this. Disney keeps doing this and we don't know what's coming. When are we going to get another episode of Ahsoka? When are we going to see the movie? When are we going to see anything from this? So when you leave so many things that can be canon creating or canon breaking, you have so much stuff going on, and then you just close the door and walk away. If I knew that they had already made episode 2 or season 2, it's already made. They're just going to release it 2 months from now. I think my feelings about this series and definitely this episode would be completely different. But the fact that I don't know if it's ever going to get picked up again, I don't know what's going on with Disney. They can't keep losing $2 billion all the time. And so I think that's probably why I don't, it is what it is.
I wanted to bring up something about that because you mentioned that. And I remember I was reading that, obviously, with the pacing of the show and how it went near the end. apparently, we don't know the actual numbers between it all, but apparently this show is the most expensive budget of all of the Star Wars shows they've done since Mandalorian, which, given how like it looks and how everything turned out, it looked great. And stuff that we were missing from it, like Zeb and other things that basically maybe they were just kind of pushing the budget too much, which basically made them, let's shrink the probably 10 episodes down to 8 episodes. Let's shrink it. And okay, let's leave some of this stuff for the movie or for other shows where we can have the budget there. And I wonder that was played into it. Basically.
Stop making TV shows in Marvel and Disney that you're making because you want to like click a button or you want to do whatever. That's clearly it's not going to be a popular show, and you spend $100 million on that, and then you're like, I think that's why everybody Disney Plus got fired. Like everybody from the head down got fired because those decisions you make. Because then when you're making an Ahsoka movie or TV show that is this beloved, obviously most of the characters are not human. You're flying around all over the place. You have different set pieces. You got ships. It's kind of why Star Trek is very expensive because you're flying all over the place. You got stuff going on. You know it's going to be expensive, and you need to budget accordingly. But like I said, money's money. They did lose a few $1 billion, so maybe they're like, listen, let's ease up on that there, boys.
We're saving the budget for Raw to the Hut.
That being said, after all of that, all right, so this is spoiler from this point forward.
I hope that spoiler alert carries through to the rest of the series we do of these shows. Right? Yeah, spoiler alert. I was right and you were wrong. Thrawn makes it to the galaxy. So I had one good thing going.
That's because Disney don't know what they're doing. They're blowing the game here. Yeah, I mean, you were completely right or wrong, I would say.
But then you were also right too.
Obviously, he was gonna have to do something because they're making an entire movie about him, so there was going to be something.
Yeah.
I just, again, will say it doesn't make sense to have somebody as crazy, powerful as Thrawn, and no one mentions him in about 10 minutes after he's apparently defeated. I assume, obviously. That being said, that overall arcing, I will say, and maybe I'll get back to it, but in this case, I just want to say, I don't have a problem necessarily with Force skills happening. Like we'll mention you. I'm looking at you, Ray, and I'm looking at our girl. We're going to talk about it in a minute with her.
Sabine, yeah.
However,
should we just address the elephant in the room? The biggest complication between this whole thing.
Well, we'll get there when it happens. But however, I will say this: every time somebody can do what a Jedi can do without any training whatsoever, because I have no doubt everyone has Force in them. The boss said so. Daddy said so. So it's true. That's it. That's law. But if you can do it without training, then you're making everything else less special. You're making Sith less special. You're making Jedi 100% less special. You're making witches less special. You're making everyone less special if anybody can do it that fast without any training. Like, yes, she had a few moves here and there, but like Ahsoka doesn't even know at one point if we'll get to it, but she doesn't even know if she kept up her training. She just asked her, are you keeping up with your training? And the fact that she can do that, same thing with Rey. When you do that, you're making things less special. And I will also say, it's actually the problem that I have with one of my favorite characters, and that's Ezra. When everybody can be a Jedi, and there was only supposed to be Luke, and you have Ezra who was saving the day multiple times, won multiple battles, it makes everything else a little less special. So I really need them to be kind of, and it's kind of what I'm worried about with Thrawn. That's why I bring it up. When you're making Thrawn, you're doing all this stuff, and you're not talking about him. You're actually making it less special, because if he was that powerful, somebody should be mentioning him. It'd be like they still say no droids 30 years after the Clone Wars, or after the Clone Wars, no droids in here, but they forget that Thrawn was there 20 minutes ago. Like, I just don't see how that's going to be a thing. But we'll see how it works out. All right. Speaking of Thrawn, I think we opened with him, don't we? If I remember correctly.
Yep. And probably man, so it hurts me in hindsight thinking about it, because Thrawn is such a great character, and how he works is. Oh,
I love Thrawn in this episode. I'm going to be honest with you. I love the character building in Thrawn in this episode.
Oh, he's great. Like he's fantastic. So Thrawn's all built around strategy. He's a strategic genius. He knows how to utilize soldiers well and how to formations, everything. He doesn't waste any time with resources. But
utilizing soldiers is one way of putting it. They're just pieces out of a chessboard would be another way to put it.
Yeah. This kind of hurt in the hindsight idea. So I'm probably gonna jump around, to be honest, because my brain's just not gonna work properly with this finale.
That's fine.
Where Thrawn, his volunteers to go there. So Thrawn he's finishing loading this the Chimera, and after Chimera's loaded, he's
pretty
like
early on, by the way.
Huh?
Pretty early on in the episode, they announced to him it's loaded. We're done.
Yeah, it's loaded. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Now let's bring the hyperspace ring down to the planet and dock it to the ship. Now it's docked. We will leave with the ring and we'll jump. So before this, the only time we've ever seen hyperspace rings used were in space with the ship docked in space.
Including with this current one. They did that in space.
They did that too. So why didn't he dock in space as soon as it was finished loading? And if not, it's fine. Weird. Fine, it's weird. Why wasn't he docking the ring at the same time as they were loading? Mm-hmm. There's not like it's conflicting there at all.
No.
It's a little nonsense because he technically would have been way gone in space before they even showed up to the spire.
Yes, I have down here. He says, which I liked. He said, "I have watched many an officer lose by underestimated rebels." And then he says something about the Jedi too. I've seen a single Jedi win a battle.
I've underestimated Jedi myself as well.
As he is watching that every block he puts in front of Ahsoka that he seems to be worried about. Like that's part I liked. That he was like,
he has like actual quivering, which is really great detail from him.
That's great. But like you said, everything he does puts in front of her, she's just going around. So lift that bitch up. Sorry, but lift that ship up like a couple 100 feet in the air, and you got no more problems. Like instead, you're just sitting there going, "Oh, like what are we gonna do? Oh, this Ahsoka character is getting, and I'm just like, lift it up, put it up in the air,
leave,
put it up.
You're okay."
And it's so weird because you could have answered this by just not saying that we're loaded and ready to go. Just don't say it. Just have him go check in. Goes, how much time do we got? We got about an hour. Make it 45 minutes, and then none of this is even a weird thing. You didn't have to say that we're done. It's very strange.
It's so weird. It definitely takes me out that moment, but because knowing like how he was in the books and all the recent stuff, it kind of is weird. But nevertheless, he still has a great performance and leads into another weird. Sorry, again, so the biggest issue for me. My grievance with the finale is pacing in terms of people's focuses. Why are they going so slow with this colony of people and their ship when the ship seems fine? It can fly faster. Why aren't they just leaving the mud crabs and going directly there?
They
didn't even come up with a plan. It's not like they were forming a plan of attack. They just straight up attacked.
You mean the scene where they're going so slow that it's like
and they're just talking like, you know what? Should we? I was smiling the whole time with Ezra making the lightsaber, talking to Hu Yang, and Hu Yang like, what are you doing messing my stuff up? This is all.
Okay, so you're jumping all over the place. We're on to get that.
I am.
I am. So the one thing that I thought was kind of important through all this is then we get right into it. He says, okay, we're about to get ready to go. And the mothers turn and say, Morgan, the one that heard our dreams, let's get over here so you can reward us. Here's where I think budget was an issue, okay? Because I did notice, I don't know if it's word for word, but I did notice it's very similar to the stuff they used on Ventress, the same like chants, okay? I recognize some of the chants on Ventress because I just did a thing for Ventress not too long ago. So that's the same thing. I don't know if it's word for word, but it's the same thing. But Ventress floated in the air with green mist, and they spun it around and flipped her up and did all that kind of stuff. This is just like, we touch you and you're now good. And it's like, it was cool. But I think that was a little bit budget constraints there. No floating her in the air with green mist. They just touched her face. We'll get to that.
I agree. It makes sense. That what we were saying.
I'll tell you why.
At the same time, they could be moving a little faster towards the objective.
I'll tell you why it doesn't make sense to me in just a second. But anyway. And then she gets the Blade of Talzin, which
Yes.
90% of people watching said, "Huh? Who?" Because they have never watched that episode. But that was actually pretty cool for me. I geeked out for the Blade of Talzin. Okay, so yeah, so right now we go from there. She sees it, she thanks them all for, making her all spooky faced. And it was really cool. They did a really good job with the witches the whole time. They always had that, like, the voice, they'd finish talking and then you'd have whispers going afterwards. It was always super creepy, super spooky. They did a great job.
The Queen Mothers were great. Like they were great all around. No matter what, they were fantastic.
Okay, so Ezra built a new lightsaber. Let's get into this really quick. I thought it was weird, and this is part of my what's going on. And I think you froze up. Oh, there you are.
You were on my screen frozen.
I know it's because somebody's playing video games to your left over there and is messing the internet up, and I don't want to keep having that. So here we go. We have Ezra said in the last episode, "I don't need a lightsaber. You hold on to that. All I need, the Force provides." Which was Hui, apparently, because the next time we see him, he's rushingly trying to build a lightsaber.
Yeah, I told you the bravado. He was like, "I can do it," and then he's just showing off to Sabine, and he was like, "You know what? Maybe a lightsaber would help." And then
so he starts building it. We have a mention of he's looking for special parts, and we have a mention that your daddy, basically Caleb, had that, and let me get it for you. And he builds this lightsaber. They talk about Caleb. They talk about everything. They drop the bomb as to why Ahsoka didn't want to train Sabine because they're afraid that she was going to use that as revenge and she's going to become the next Anakin.
Which is understandably fair. It's a really fair idea.
They did all this shoved in this little spot. There was no like holy crap moment. It was just two dudes talking at a bar, and like I feel like that should have been a pretty big thing. And it was just a quick thing, also while done in jokes. Like it didn't have any like giant moment that it should have. Like if you had blinked, you would have missed that. And I just thought it needed a little bit more stuff. However, that being said, I did like the fact that he said that the emitter was too narrow. That's what everybody complained about the original Rebels,
because they're really thin blades. I caught that on the second rewatch, and that was really funny to laugh at.
And then the other problem that I had with it, who is helping him build it? The lightsaber.
Hu Yang.
The man who's been teaching people, as he tells them, for thousands of years or whatever. Yet, where did he get this?
He want to specify what he didn't want to specify how long. He's like, long enough.
Where did Ezra get this kyber crystal? Because Hu Yang is a big believer, and your kyber crystal must be pretty important to you. You must have a connection with it. Yet he just, he hid in the same place that a Pulp Fiction, the watch is hidden. Where did he get the kyber crystal from? Do they have a connection? Why would they have a connection?
That's actually really funny. Holy.
He just threw it.
Well, it's funny because it specifies that the emitter at the top is one of two. The other one Kanan had, he kept the other one. So he must he nature's pocket. She says he must have had an extra.
Do they have a connection? Did it lead out to him and call to him? He was keeping.
Well, the blue lightsaber is pretty basic, so it's not like a special.
Did he keep it in a jailhouse pocket? Like what was happening here? Where did he keep it and where? Yeah, like right there, nature's pocket, exactly. Like that was my issue.
As the big Rebels fan you are, obviously his lightsaber broke, the blue one, when he was fighting, and he went to the green. Whatever happened to the blue crystal?
I don't know. Actually, I don't remember what happened to it.
Because he broke, the lightsaber's broken.
I think it might have exploded. Like I think it
exploded, but I don't know if the crystal did, right?
I think it did. Because I think that was like a big thing. Because remember, he was shooting it as a gun, which I thought they were going to bring that back. Because I still would have loved that if they brought that.
If he brought the gun, he's like, you know what? I have an idea.
I hate the lightsaber blaster. It would have been cool to see it live action. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That Black Series toy will be yours for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yes. So yeah, that scene again. I really love that scene. That was a fantastic scene. But again, like you said, it needed to hold the gravitas a little more, as opposed to rushing the
gravitas is a great
delivery, especially the moment again, like talking with Sabine. How that makes a lot of sense. Ahsoka's motivation with that moment where Sabine might she already experienced with Anakin. Sabine might just kind of go a little too much in the dark, as Mandalorians are already known to be very brutal.
Yeah. That's why you don't let them become
warrior people. Right? Makes sense.
So here's the reason why I said this doesn't make sense, because you got to go back and think. The last episode, we found out that you don't need a lightsaber. Ezra has shown you don't need a lightsaber. You can be powerful. You can do whatever. Then we see Ahsoka and Sabine on top of the ship hanging out, as one would. And then she's talking about, kept up with your training. She's like, yeah, a little bit of lightsaber. And she's like, I'm not good at lightsaber. She goes, you don't need to be. It's not just about being a lightsaber. It's not a Jedi biz. What happens that moment? Ezra pops out, says, ha, bitches, I got my lightsaber. We can go now. And everybody's like, yay. Like Voodoo said, we're waiting on him to build his lightsaber. What was the point? What were we learning? That you don't need a lightsaber. Ahsoka doesn't need a lightsaber. Ezra pops out, says, I got my lightsaber, bitch. Trick you. And everyone's like, oh, thank God. Now we can storm the castle. Like, what in the world was that lesson? I was like, that was a weird thing to do.
So funny. You know, that how it is. Oh, that's so dumb.
Then and so far it's just a pacing thing and just weird decisions. I haven't been like, what in the world? Here comes the first what in the world. So we're sitting there hanging out. Here come the TIE fighters, beautiful as always, just Top Gun style in the distance. Where they come. And apparently we know a lot of new things about Star Wars world. You can go into Mach speed and you can just run through a ship. It's fine. It just takes out entire armadas. Now we know that Ahsoka's ship is some kind of armored up tank because it could just fly through TIE fighters, no problem. Doesn't take any damage on the ship. I know it went down, but it wasn't from the TIE fighters. It was from getting shot in the engines. It just snunk it. And they're just like, yeah, we took them out and they landed. I'm like, why do we have blasters? What are we doing? Like, we're just run into them. Like, that was so weird that they did that. Like,
it was really interesting. Strange. I mean, it was good that at least the ship went down, because if it didn't, that'd be really, really bad. But I mean, it was like a last ditch effort to like, okay, we'll just ram them. Let's just ram it and hope for the best.
Yeah.
I was happy though that the ship didn't get like, okay, so it hurts. The ship got repaired later on, but like,
it got repaired awfully fast too.
Pretty quick, which is a little bit of an issue. I was like, okay, the ship out of commission. Because I was like, oh, they just take the ship directly to them. Out of commission. I'm like, oh, it's not getting repaired. It got repaired. But you know, yeah. I
think you could have easily showed smoke, like a big explosion from that side, showed smoke going up, and I don't think it would have ruined the end. But just to like rush through stuff seemed a little bit like, here we go, like another one of those. Not like movie breaking, not like I start burning all my TIE fighter toys or anything, not like that. But it's just
it was kind of funny watching the TIE fighters perfectly hit the first shot, and on the other runs they completely missed. I'm like, how are you guys missing the non-moving object?
Oh, don't get me started on the. Anyway,
that's a classic TIE fighter thing.
I mean, that's part of Star Wars, so you can't really complain. I've said it in all the other reviews. Done. When the Chimera opens up like 3 times now in this series and hasn't hit a roach, and they just miss every shot, I'm just like,
the orbital bombardment on the bottom not hitting anything kind of hurts.
Because they did it in Rebels too. Like, that was the exact same scene in Rebels, but at least they had speeder.
But they destroyed the entire place with that though, which is good.
All right, so we kind of, I'm not sure we're fast forwarding, but we got the scene, which I like was really cool. I liked it. I honestly like the scene, but I like the build up to it. They're sitting there, they're ready to go. She's explaining to him, and then our man shows up and he says, do they understand? Yeah, it's been explained to him. And he was like, so these are all volunteers? And he's like, yeah. So he makes sure that they understand what's about to happen.
Thrawn gets consent. Thrawn gets consent.
Yeah, and he wants to make sure that everyone consented, gets it on video. Say that you said yes into the screen, that you're not being forced. He makes sure that they're all okay with it. I know what was about to happen. You know what's about to happen. I wonder if people have never seen Rebels, have never seen any of that stuff.
Clone Wars, any of them.
Clone Wars. I wonder if they knew, because it probably got really weird. It's going to get weird. Everybody hold hands. It's going to get weird here in a second. They said funny. Absolutely, and they get the blessing of the moms of the mothers there.
Oh, the Queen mothers.
And what happens to these poor troopers?
Well, as soon as they march on the 3 Jedi and they attack them and they die in combat, they resurrect them and they become Dathomirian zombies, essentially.
They do. And this is something that did happen in the cartoons. They did.
Yes, twice.
They did have zombies in the cartoons.
I think about 3 times at least.
Yeah,
but it was really cool. I really liked it. I was happy with also the moment that they realized, like, they turn around and like, and then, you know, nothing works. Mind you, I don't know why the lightsabers weren't going fully through them and they were still just catching the edge of the armor. But that's again one
yeah,
of those.
actually, I'm not sure what I did. I don't know what the lead up in this, but the clip that I made just says zombie Ahsoka. So let's see what this is. No, that's the one that we're going to talk about in a minute. Don't you worry about that one.
I was really happy with that. I was so happy. So yeah, I remember that's right. The point when they talk later when that part comes up. Before that, when Thrawn's standing the two Death Troopers, because again, you think there were in Rebels when he finished when Ezra stormed the Chimera, it was two Death Troopers there with him, which is nice that they were there as well.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was Ezra, but somebody said that when Thrawn arrived, he woke up the mothers and all that stuff. So that leads me to believe that the caskets, we thought they were caskets, probably aren't caskets. They're probably like some kind of like Futurama cryo freeze.
Well, she said it was in the catacombs, is what Morgan Elsmith said, which makes sense because they're probably just ancient, long dead.
So I'm thinking that whatever was scaring them, they want to get off this planet. The original group that left, maybe there's some that volunteered to stay behind, put themselves in the old cryo freeze or something, and they waited for something like this to happen.
Near the end, we can talk about one of the biggest fan theories going for this whole thing, especially with Baylan.
I love those fan theories because they are so far zero.
They're so far zero, which is so funny. But it's basically, we'll talk about later with Baylan at the end with the fan theory. And there was actually another thing I heard on top of that fan theory, which actually is pretty interesting. But we'll talk about that later, obviously.
And the next thing I have on here is that the lasers don't hit anything. So like, so they get on after the ship goes down, they get on the wolves and they start riding the wolves into battle. This is like, I can't tell if I'm watching Star Wars sometimes or Lord of the Rings, but they're riding the wolves into battle, and that's when he does orbital bombardment, but seemed not to be able to hit anything. Apparently, they turned the tracking off for this particular battle. And then at one point when they realize they're zombies, whatever they call them, she asked Ezra if this is normal, and he said no, this is new. And I was a little bit weirded out by that because
Ezra never seen that. No,
a little bit though he has, because they went there when they got the dark blade. Remember they used the green stuff to like possess them, and maybe not necessarily the zombie side, but he's definitely seen the green witches do stuff with people's bodies and all that kind of stuff. So maybe not.
He's seen the magic, but not necessarily the resurrection stuff.
Yeah. So, but when I first heard that, I was kind of like, well, you have seen their definitely their magic and and stuff. Oh, we already talked about this. The next part, what I was going to talk about was why didn't they go off into space and put the ring on there?
Yeah. I also to piggyback off it right away is that when they fight the Night Troopers that are now dead, which is great. It was cool seeing them like backing up. Oh, we really can't win this fight.
You mean how they were already zombies and I told you they were dead? And you didn't.
You know what? As they ran up the stairs, running away, and. I love that. I don't care. I loved that.
You told me they were not dead, and look at there.
Not that. Hey, they were dead. The other ones make that happen. The volunteers, they can't consent that they were dead. So why would Thrawn either consent that they were dead? So, anyways, they were running up the staircase, being chased by them. And there's like a million doorways apparently up the staircase. I don't know why they just keep running up the whole thing, just going ba-dung, ba-dung, ba-dung. But that's again.
But the cool part of this at the beginnings we saw when this first started off, Thrawn said, "Listen, we ain't stopping her. She's coming. We're gonna need another distraction." And he looks at her, and she says, "I understand," and she agrees to stay behind. I'm gonna take the next couple of parts at face value because it doesn't make sense, but they're also witches and they're not to be trusted. When he says "for the Empire," he walks away. She whispers underneath her breath, "For Dathomir." And then there's another part later we'll get into that, which is, and I think they're setting it up to know they're not 100% on Thrawn's side.
Yeah, I will laugh though because she lets literally two of them walk around her.
That was where I was going next with this. However, he just answer why people walk past to get to that scene that we saw, and I thought that was weird.
Opposed to standing in the staircase and blocking the staircase.
So this comes to my next problem that I've had with it all series long, and I wanted to like do it. I just haven't. And here's why I do it. I'm gonna now do what I didn't think I was gonna do and blame one of my ex-wives, the lady who plays Ahsoka. I'm assuming she's just not good at this, at the whole sword stuff. Maybe they didn't have the budget to get her going, because I seem to see here that she moves super slow when it's obviously her. And then when it seems like just little quick shots here that it's a stunt double, that's when we get really good fighting. So I'm assuming. So I just want to show you the slow part first. And this is slow. And I want to show you how slow these lightsabers are moving. You got to remember, we can see them, but they're supposed to be the speed of bullets here. These are supposed to be going super fast. So.
Fall back. Draw them out. Sabine, blasters.
Okay.
Kind of reinforces I do like Ezra there a lot when he has
granted, she can't be as fast as she cartoon, but this is what she is. She's super fast, super agile. I know she's older now, but I mean, that spin move she was hoping she didn't fall and break a hip or something. Like, that was pretty slow. I feel like we could have done something about that. Now, here's what I think might be the best fight of the whole series. Definitely is the best fight of the whole series.
Yeah, the fight with her versus Morgan was actually super good. It was
pretty
really
good.
well
Here's
done.
a little piece of it. I mean, when she does that like quick little spin to the other thing,
when she remembers she has two sabers at once and she can move them independently, opposed to doing it at the same time or just holding one back, which is fast. It looks terrific.
It just because of how, and it's probably because of the fanboy in me. I like Ahsoka a lot, so like I don't want to see her moving super slow. She needs to be super fast. But also that's part of the
live action.
That's part of live action. You know, you're not a cartoon, obviously. Okay, so
the Death Troopers first. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I loved it.
It's a little bit weird, but okay.
It's weird.
Zombies is a little bit strange for Star Wars. I know it's a thing.
Weird. It's fantastic. I don't care. Fine. I loved it. I was happy. As soon as I saw them, I'm like, this is perfection. I need the Black Series. Now we get to the fun part.
Such a comic book Star Wars fan, just so you know. Like everything.
Yeah, I know. I'm just a big nerd. So now comes the issue. Okay, so I want to reiterate for myself before you bring this up. I was really interested in what they were going to do at that moment. I liked it at first until they jumped the shark.
Here's my issue. I could have been okay with any of the things, including the thing we're going to talk about, literally jumping the shark. I could have been okay with any of those things. There was a part in the middle of it where all of a sudden out of nowhere she just starts blocking everything. By the way, super faster than Ahsoka ever did. She blocked like 4 blasters in 1 second. And he was like, "Oh, what's that all about?" If you had given me that, I could take it. There was a really cool scene where kind of like Kylo Ren. I don't really like to mention that name on this channel, but she force grabs a lightsaber, just classic. Kind of a little hokey though, to like, oh, before he chokes me out, I finally found the way, and she lights it, kills the guy. Fine.
I was happy with it too. Yeah.
I could have been okay with that. I could have even been okay with the force throw that we're going to talk about, the Mary Poppins moment, only because that is totally a Rebels thing. Caleb
You're wrong.
Caleb and him were throwing each other around all over the place. Now that's 2 Jedi, but they always gave each other little force throws. So it's a callback to that. However, with 0 training, 0 acknowledgement that she can't even move a cup, to be able to do all those pretty high level force things that fast was the part that I was like, this is going to set the internet aflame, I think.
For me, the idea was obviously she had been training or trying to reach her Force abilities, and she tried, but not really worked out. In a near-death experience for her to pull the lightsaber and kill the Judge was terrific. I was like, that's fantastic, but it should have took all her energy to do that. It should have like literally killed, like not killed her, but like exhausted her. She's like, I can't do anything else.
Like
then she's like, I'm gonna throw you, and it's like, you should not have that much power immediately after to be able to suddenly you want to throw him so far. Or if they did that, if you wanted to go with the Rebels idea, it would have been, she could have tried throwing him. The ship could have been closer. Tried throwing him. He jumps, and she's like, oh, I actually can't do it. And tries pushing him, but it doesn't really work. It's like she's too tired. And he just catches the ledge like he did anyways.
Yeah.
But instead of having it, like she pushes him an extra like 30 feet to hit the thing. But I liked her picking the lightsaber up and doing the bop. But I did not like them immediately after that being like, oh, okay, now I'm confident. I will throw you so far away. Ezra should be like, no, I don't trust you.
There's already a precedence for this, and it's Baby Yoda. When Baby Yoda was Baby Yoda and we didn't know his name, anytime he used the Force, I don't care if he moved a pencil, he passed out for like 2 days. And
yes, that was the thing. When he lifted up the thing, he's like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah. So we already have a precedence for this thing. So everything she did, like you said, it should have made her exhausted. And that's why if they had made the lightsaber jiggle and not come, maybe. And then you did that because, oh my God, Ezra, my brother, maybe even love interest, whatever he ends up being, he's going to die if I don't do this. I scream for the Force to help me, and maybe the Force helps her if it didn't even come from her. But to do all of them,
one or the other, not both.
Like I said, again, like her, like Rey, it makes it less special if you can just do that high level of stuff without getting worn out, without any training. It just makes it a little less special to me when it happens. Like it's, I think that's it with the whole Mary Poppins thing.
Yep, that's for me of the grievances in the episode. That was one of the big ones. Thrawn not leaving immediately was a big one for me. And then the other grievance was just the pacing of it all, right? Like I mentioned.
And there was an awesome moment where he, gets rid of the trooper.
Oh, I love that. He gets rid of the stormtrooper or the night.
Yeah, like this example. Exactly. It's just it's a high level. That's high level shenanigans going on there.
Yeah, it's a little focused.
And she's been fighting a battle where she's been using a lightsaber and everything. She should be pretty exhausted mentally.
Physically too.
So he picks up the thing and they're like, hey, 471, report. And he goes, everything's fine here, whatever. And that's awesome because Ezra used to always do that, puts on helmets, disguises himself.
An extra helmet to his collection. Very happy.
Yeah, adds another helmet to his collection. And then I guess we just at this point. Oh, and they had a moment that was, I guess, I want to like it. I do. But maybe it's because the Force push already put me in a spot. But whenever she's fighting her at the end, they're fighting, they're talking trash to each other. And she says, and now you're going to die here alone or whatever. And then you hear, not alone. And I guess that was supposed to be like a moment, but it was so corny. Like it was just a little bit cringy.
Yeah, and then Morgan ultimately, I only know that part got so kind of sped up quickly. So Morgan suddenly dies, right? She did.
Oh my gosh, too fast. What a great character. What a great lead up. And then we know she could fight. She could fight before. And then all of a sudden she's just gone.
I also like the fact that every one of the zombie soldiers stood in a circle watching her fight.
Yeah.
When they could have shot Ahsoka in the back many times.
Or they also were so enamored with her they didn't see the other one coming in.
Really. Like again, that's Star Wars, and there's random stuff like that happens all the time.
Honestly, this is one of the ones that bum me out. I'm hoping that they're going to pull some shenanigans. Honestly, I hate shenanigans because I like that character. I think that actress did a great job.
Yeah.
And I think she has a lot more to offer. We don't know anything about her still. Yeah. And then she's dead, which is fine. That's also a good thing too. You don't need to know everything about everybody, but I would like to have seen a little bit more.
But then we get to the last really big.
We're gonna talk about the fact that
we even
run and jump off the cliff, and the ship just happens to be there. We're not even gonna talk about that.
Yeah, that was funny. So, anyways, that happened. I want to.
I'm sure he told her. He probably, I'm gonna be right there.
Her, right? So, Anyways, the big moment of the episode at the end, they shoot into space, chasing after them, and Thrawn's like, open a channel. And he makes his quick speech.
You mean his trash talk he did?
Trash talk? I loved it.
Thrawn ever?
I loved it. I loved it. It was great. And he's like, long live the Empire, and jumps. And
he was like, yeah, listen, you tried hard. You did your best. You're making a worthy adversary. But listen, this day I won. You didn't. And, you know, I respect you. I know who your master was. I know what he became. And perhaps you're so much like him, you might become him. And that was like your mama, bitch. That was like his your mama basically. Right there. Because he tried to build
into light speed. That is a perfect, quote for that.
He pulled basically your mama joke and said, maybe you're just so much like your dad, you're going to become him. And I'm out. And we
out. Yeah, perfect. I was
let's just leave her with that one when I peace out.
I was very happy with that. Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. So then they sat there going, well, we lost. That was great. And then they returned to the planet. But
I will say this really quick, though. This is now like the second time that she's almost lost her ship into the deep space where you will die in seconds because she just won't stop sitting in the middle of the ship while it takes off. They weren't like flying towards it. They were just sitting there listening because they know they weren't going to get it. And I would have been like, hey, while he's talking trash, move us out just like 100 yards to the right, so that way that backwash doesn't like take us out and throw us into the planet.
That's so funny.
And I think after that, it's just
you see them messed me up with after that happened. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. That was great. And then I look at the runtime. It's like 15 minutes left. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. And then have the moments with so it was like, oh, what happened? They go back to the planet. And then they show like Shin meeting her army of simps and of all the guys, right? And she joins up with them. It's like cool. And then we see Balin, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna see what happens to Balin, and not really. And we see him
that shot for shot remake of
I looked at that runtime. I was like, cool, it's gonna be 15 whole minutes, and I'm like, I forgot the credits are gonna take up 5 of those minutes, and I'm like, oh.
We already talked about Uncle Dave loving Lord of the Rings. That's his favorite series, favorite movie. But the fact that you like recreated the guy on the statue and off in the distance, you got like Mordor off on the distance with the light beaconing him was a little on the nose.
So yeah, so obviously we have Balin.
Are you surprised that they went that way? I'm actually surprised they're going to bring
the father and son and all that.
The father, the son, and
I was kind of not at the same time, but surprised. It was interesting so that the daughter's statue was broken. Now
it was
okay.
Not only broken, but even in between, there was broken.
Separated.
Too.
They were separated.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to bring up two things specifically here. So one
about the owl.
So before that, we're going to bring the owl stuff. Clone Wars. When I saw this, and I had to double check it. So when the Mortis arc happens, where Anakin, Obi-Wan, and all of Ahsoka show up to the planet Mortis with that whole arc with the father, son, and daughter. Obi-Wan and Anakin specifically mentioned that they do not recognize any of the stars and the constellations above the planet. They said none of it looks even close to them.
Yeah.
Which leaves the idea that could this be in a different galaxy, out of space, whatever this is. Which led to the idea that people were thinking that this could be where it was, or this could be in the same general area of the galaxy that place was. Which makes an interesting idea that this could be where they were from. Now, the whole crazy theory that everyone has been working off of has been that, we didn't mention in the past episode, is that Balin is looking for Abeloth. Abeloth, this great, like, eldritch being in the outer regions of the galaxy.
Too far out.
A very, very out there theory compared to...
No.
Compared to everyone's like, okay, what's his name is Star Killer?
She's too much. You can't bring that in there. You can't even bring her a video game without being crazy. Because
people are like, okay, the Inquisitor is Star Killer. Okay, he's not Star Killer. He's just a random guy who got killed. Okay, cool. This theory next. This one failed. Okay, you know what? Abeloth is the big threat, and it's like
it's
really
the reason
weird.
why we get like 50 views and they get 50 million views because we
Yeah, basically. So it's really weird. It's a really weird theory. Again, we don't really know what he's trying to go after. But okay, so someone I read a reading from someone, I can't remember who it was, but they brought up the idea that if for whatever reason this is Abeloth, it is a random idea. Something fun addition is if this is where the Night Sisters or them came from, the explanation is their magic is coming from like Abeloth imprisoned here. Showed them where the Night Sister magic is, because there's no explanation to how like where the magic is. The magic force based? Is it something entirely different? Which leads to an interesting idea, right there, and that's why they're trying to leave the planet because Abeloth is very cursed.
Well, I would say that everybody tries to put together these 20-step theories of why it's going to be, and it's like it was just a normal dude in a suit. It was just a normal chick. And holding a stick, like it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah. Even with this one, they gave you the whole crap moment. But if you're not a Clone Wars fan, you don't know what that statue was. It just looks like an old ruin. You have no idea. You weren't like, holy crap, like I was. You don't know. It's like they didn't even really broke that subject.
And again, as the old Italian guy at my work would say, what the hell was that? As a general viewer. I'm only watching movies, right?
The basically the gods of light and dark and everything. I didn't think they would bring it in because it's too far out there. They kind of didn't, because they didn't actually have to address it.
No, they just showed a statue.
Yes,
but I was
that was the part that bothered me the most, though, because if you're going to bring it in and you're going to do something weird like her, like you make her like a regular human that every so often something flashes and you can see her all of her weirdness. I need him. And my man's no longer with us.
Yes. So again, that becomes the big issue. If in our minds, if he hadn't died and passed on, the actor, it wouldn't be as bad. But because he's dead, they either have to recast him or they have to just leave the storyline as is, or address it in like a book or comic. But the issue becomes,
or do an animation.
Yes. But the issue becomes that seems such a big important story that they have to address it in live action.
Yeah.
Which makes it really awkward for everyone. But I think they're probably going to recast. That's probably what they're going to have to do. There's no way they can't just not do it.
I like that Shin went with the bandits. Like I do. I like that moment.
Makes sense. It makes sense for a character in that moment.
But at the same time, why? Like, who the bandits to? Like, there's no one around anymore to bandit unless there's people we don't know about. I mean, it's a big planet. There could be
all those crabs, man. All the mud crabs.
I don't think she's going near Ahsoka for a while, so they probably ain't going to abandon them.
Yes.
And then, like we're saying, if you don't know, maybe you don't know, you haven't looked up. And there's going to be a lot of, I'm sure, great videos to give you a rundown of the Clone Wars and Rebels and everything else. But the owl, the daughter that wasn't a statue, she went into the owl, which went into Ahsoka, and she basically Ahsoka carries her spirit or something with her, and that's why the owl was in Mandalorian. When we first saw Ahsoka, there was the owl was there with her. The owl was with her here, and that's kind of that moment where Ahsoka, instead of looking off and freaking out, she's like, "Oh, listen, Ezra is supposed to be, and where we're supposed to be," because she sees the owl and she knows I'm put here for a reason. I just got to figure out what it is now, and she's at peace with it, and it's and it's that moment. But in the story, the daughter, she represents the light of light. She is the light. The most purest light, Kenobi, one might say, the purest of lights. And the sun, and I believe her planet, her side of the planet's always in the light.
Yes.
It kind of harkens back to the first kind of Jedi and the first kind of lightsaber user. You had to go to the moon if you weren't balanced or whatever. And the sun, it represents everything dark. And the father is in between them, trying to keep them balanced. And it's a constant battle, and that's what we're seeing here. Now, I don't know what the burning bush flame was on top of that mountain, but it was cool.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that Halo Forge beacon. But I was gonna before you bring up the last couple of shots with Ahsoka at the campfire, I guess we can bring up, like, honestly, I loved this moment. Probably my favorite part of the episode was, or outside of Thrawn's speech to Ahsoka, is when Ezra shows back up to Hera.
I want to say,
arrives in the ship.
From the moment we see Shin hold her lightsaber up, I feel like that's what was planned, and the pacing's better. and everything looks
pacing
great.
is fantastic. Yeah,
and everything's done. And I feel like that was the part that was planned on shot. That was shot the way it was supposed to be shot because it looks better. It's paced better.
There was no cuts in between them all.
Everything has it. Like just the way even Sabine's looking out and thinks she hears something. Something said something to her, and you see the light coming through, and then she's like, "What'd you see? Oh, possibly not. Maybe nothing or whatever." Right? Even that, like everything means something. And I'm just missing that through the fast forward button that we got from the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
But so I did have to skid my wife. Side note, I was talking about when I was writing the notes for this, I was talking about Chopper, and she says the droid, and I was like, or the mass murderer, and she was like, a droid, and I was like, oh, he's pretty infamous.
Yeah, the war criminal.
So I typed in Chopper. The first thing that came up was Chopper. Then afterwards was Clone Wars, of course. The second one was Chopper, mass murderer, or crimes against humanity.
How many kills? Was this total kill?
So he lands, which is weird. I'm assuming maybe he said something to them because they lit the same ship that we know that ship was used to murder.
Which is really funny because I was like, how? I'm like, oh, yeah. So that makes sense.
So he must have said something. He must have said some secret code. He knows that.
Please let me in. Please let me in. Don't shoot me down.
Night is always blackest before the dawn. Like, oh, that's a secret code word.
That's the fulcrum command. Yeah, and they go.
So he goes down there. He lands. And before he even takes off it, Chopper's already.
I love that. Like a dog.
He's already trying to sniff out who's.
I love that the Chopper immediately knew. I was really happy with that. That was a great moment.
They had their moment, and she's trying to figure it out because she did a good job. I thought because she's happy to see him, but then you see the look on her face. Why isn't no one with you? What is this mean?
the happiness, but the fear at the same time.
What's going to happen now? But when I see all this, I was looking around for your purple friend. He wasn't there, and I was like, "Oh, Hoosier's gonna be like, where is he?
Is that? I was talking about where's Zeb? Where's Zeb? I was like,
they didn't bring him in. They didn't do it.
That is probably the most shocking thing to me possible. The budget could not have Zeb. Zeb should have been at the count.
He's probably expensive, though. He looked good, though. He's probably
the thing. I was like, if you had to have him anywhere, this would have been the moment. But are in the count of the court. No, he didn't.
I was literally looking for him more so than I was paying attention because I'm like, if he doesn't show up somewhere in a corner,
it's pretty. Honestly, it's pretty regrettable that he was not there for that moment, or at least to be with Hera after all that stuff went down. It's pretty.
Well, he's pretty handsy in the show, so like maybe having him actually seeing him the first time, which means they would have to have hugged, or he had to like message.
Oh yeah, they didn't have that budget.
Maybe that was a little too much because you can't just have him sitting there not give him a hug or something. Maybe that was a little too much. But I really did like that.
Z-Man, yeah. Basically, but yeah, that moment with other than Zeb not being there, which he should have been there realistically. It was perfect to me. I was really happy with everyone's performances. Again, I think the actor for Ezra is doing a fantastic job. He's doing a great job emulating the voice and the mannerisms of the actor.
You know that I wanted to hate on him. You know that I.
I know you did. I know going into this, you were like, you're ready to go.
Actually, the only one that I have slight issues with, I need my ex-wife to move a little faster. I do. I need her to train up a little bit. Like,
I know it's a Hera. I know Hera's a big one for you.
I think the actress did an amazing job with Hera. It's just that Hera looks like a human with green paint. Like, I don't know why it does, and I've never got that feeling. Maybe because she was so iconic in the cartoon, she was drawn such a different kind of way. But she's fine. I've gotten used to it now. Sabine's the only one, just because I think that the actress does a good job. Like, she's fine.
She does a great job, I think. It's just how they're addressing the character feels different. Like, we're missing.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say it's not the actress. It's more like her personality and the way she was written was a little bit weird. But she's gone through a lot, so maybe that's answers some of that. But some of that
we don't have the in between when we last saw her in there. Her character developed in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, she did lose her entire planet.
Yeah, like literally that's pretty effective. Now, okay, I want to bring up the ending now, the final ending where we had them talk about, oh, look at the stars. I legitimately thought for a second, I'm like, I swear to God, when they're looking at the space, I'm like, if the Purrgil show up now, I will lose my mind. They suddenly show up. I didn't even think about
the Purrgil. That actually would have been a good.
When they said, "Look up the stars," oh, I see something, and the Purrgil were there. I lose it. I lose my mind. I'm like, are you kidding me? You get out that way, huh? That's how you get out, huh? So I'm like, cool, because they go to that planet to die, is what we were kind of told, right? So they shouldn't be there, just casually hanging out. But then when it cuts and it pulls back as the force goes, and I saw Sabine's like, I thought I saw someone. I thought 100% it was Kanan. And then as soon as it pulls and you see the hair, I'm like, nope, that's not Kanan. That would have been a perfect moment to have had Kanan there if they were to do Kanan anywhere. It was
and I told you I didn't think they were going to.
I don't think they're ever going to do it now. Given that that was the moment, they never will.
I don't think that was the right spot for Kanan though, because Kanan is Ezra. So if Ezra had a moment like that,
that's true. But Kanan would have been there for Sabine as well in a way, right?
I still think it's more of a thing. I think that was more because this is Ahsoka's story. This isn't even Ezra's story. This is Ahsoka's story.
Yeah.
So plus I don't know how, other than we all got older and more mature, how somebody has turned a fan base as swiftly and as beautifully as Anakin has. Holy but Jesus.
I don't care. Hayden was great.
Hayden, I mean, there are people crying when he walks down the street now. They're like, oh, I love you so. Like, he's got to be so weirded out by that.
Again, for me, when I went to Fan Expo that recently happened, I literally watched for when the day he was there for signing, people jump over the velvet barricades and smash the barricades to run to his booth. So they were revealed after staying there for an hour, he wasn't there. He was in a different room, and they all ran like crazy. And I'm over there watching from a distance, going, "Dear God!" Like it's a madness. Like, yeah,
and I'm here for it, and I hope that, and I do. I think Star Wars fandom would have already been different. I think it has, but just like everything in our society, our politics, our everything. Social media is the downfall of the human species. We would look back on this when there's like two of us left in a cave and said we should have done something. I think that clickbait, hate, and overly doing love gets views, and I think that's the only reason why. But I think if you would take a second, okay, and just look at the Ahsoka series, it had great episodes. It was Star Wars. Not every episode was great.
Yes.
And then also look up many people absolutely hated this man. Made his life a living hell. We're not even going to talk about, Junior one.
Yeah, don't talk about the poor Jake Lloyd, his poor life that got messed up from this.
We're not even going to talk about that poor damn kid. But the fact that now you same fanboys who thought he was the worst thing that ever happened are now willing to name your first child after him and stuff. So
people literally standing in line with a jar of sand to get it.
And it's coming from me, the troll of trolls, the hate of hate. And I'm saying y'all need to chill out and realize that things might be different later in life.
That's pretty much there's not much else to really say. I mean, it's really interesting leading into all of it. I haven't part of the news. I have something to bring up regarding this, but I don't know.
We're not doing that today, are we?
Oh, we are. We have to. Tradition. So I don't know if they're doing a second season or if they're going to be whatever the storylines here continue into the film. But overall, I would probably give it about a 7. It had some, especially in the middle with episodes
overall
4, 5, and 6. Series, I'd say 4, 5, and 6 were fantastic. They were top tier episodes for me. The first 3 were good, but they had moments, and the last 2 episodes faltered. They had some grievances with me, but overall, it wasn't like the other series where it was like up and then straight down. It was up, cascade down, but it kind of settled. It wasn't like a bad ending, like other shows we've talked about before.
I'm going to I'm gonna have a caveat here, and I'm going to judge it based on what Disney, the steaming piles of Dookie that they have given us in the past, which you shouldn't. But I'm also going to do it based on the fact that I think this was obviously, in my opinion, budget torn apart. And I think that it was written as if somebody was going to answer these questions. Like, I don't think it was written just to do 6 episodes. I don't think 6 episodes is not enough.
It was 8 episodes. It was 8 episodes.
They got to start doing 8 or 9. 6 isn't enough. I don't think they're able to give.
It was 8 episodes, by the way, not 6 episodes.
Whatever. They need to be 10. Then there needs to be more.
It was probably 10 originally.
And it needed to be 10. And I think you're asking people like this. This Ahsoka tells you they went out there. They told an original story. They took some chances. And then you're like, yeah, now do it. 3 episodes.
They didn't hold your hand. They did not hold your hand. They weren't like, we're going to explain every character that's here. We're just going to let it go. And you're going to have to play.
You got to let it breathe. I would say I probably all the way up to an 8 or maybe even higher, just because I'm going to judge it as there was always a plan to have a season 2. and I'm assuming that season 2 was going to land some of these planes. It makes me go, I can't. The director may need to have some words about some choices that was made in some of those scenes. I don't understand it, but I'm gonna assume. I bet if you sit down and talk to people in charge, they would say, "Oh, we planned on making the lightsaber building and mentioning of Caleb a way bigger moment, but we just don't have the budget and the time anymore. They took it away from us, so we can't stay there anymore. We didn't give it enough time." I'm assuming they were going to do that. Maybe there was supposed to be a Kanan. I keep saying go back to watching Caleb and Kanan. Sorry, maybe there was supposed to be a Kanan,
same character, same name, just his new name and his old name, right?
A Kanan light show. Maybe there was supposed to be. I mean, I don't know if he was ever taught, because supposedly you need to be taught how to do that. So I don't even know if he knows how.
It's kind of funny in my mind. I have a feeling that in the future, there's probably a better chance if we ever had a live action Kanan or Caleb, we would actually have the young version of him as a Jedi during the Jedi Order than we would have him when he was in Rebels. I feel like we probably actually see that before Rebels.
And I like how they handled some situations. I thought they actually tried to do stuff with this series. I think they handled, what do you do when you have like PTSD from being the only survivor? And I think she went to that. They handled a lot better than they did in Kenobi. I can tell you that. That's the strongest man ever, and he just buckled and was like, living off well fat or something. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, it's a very painful.
And then to me, they also answered a pretty important one. It's something that when you're a big enough fan of Star Wars, you start asking questions like, were the rebels that nice? Because they had no problem killing 30, 40, 100,000 people at once and cheering about it. It's war, but I'm just saying, that we act like they're so nice. And the other thing was the Jedi were sending, this is what Ahsoka had a big issue with. They were sending children into war.
Yeah, literal as you see Ahsoka at live action, it's a child soldier.
Yes, and Caleb, we saw him in the cartoons, and he was a child who was sent into war. And neither one of them was big fans of it. Like later in life, they realized this is not a good thing that was happening here. We're not supposed to be doing this as children. Now that's probably a modern take on it, because I'm sure back in 1978 we did not give a crap about children doing that. We're like, yeah, badass little man.
He's a patriot. They're a patriot.
But I did like that they addressed it, and some acknowledgement that was probably not the best timing for all those things happening. And so I liked it. I liked it. I like what they did. It could have been better, of course. But I mean, you're asking for a TV show that's done in 8 episodes. It's not a 3-hour movie, 6 movies combined to tell a full story. Like, I feel like they did a better storytelling and landed more planes and took me in a place that I like to be, more so than those other 3 movies we're not supposed to talk about. I mean, that was all over the damn place. I don't even know what was going on.
It's really interesting, the pacing of everything.
But I think that is Ahsoka. I was waiting for Voodoo Lily. If she's still in here, she's probably not. She's a celebrity after all.
Her budget ran out. She ran over.
Her budget ran out too. I was going to see if she gave us her overall score on that as the people. She represents all the people. So whatever she says, if she tells us, that's it. There's no argument.
Oh, there she is. She's still here.
There's no arguments. Whatever Voodoo says, that's what the people say. That's a fact. Everyone knows that. So
I mean, based on the Dathomirians making. Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't even bring up the fact that when Thrawn gets back, I mentioned he's probably going to arrive where they were last. No, he arrives at Dathomir, and that they're realistically gonna. So in the original Heir to the Empire trilogy, he uses a clone army to wage war through Project Tantus and all that stuff. Now, because there's so many clone stuff related, they probably didn't want to do that. And avoiding the clones, they bring up the idea of an undead army with the Night Sisters, which is really cool. I do like that change. I like that idea.
No undead army. Boo. Don't like it. It's horrible. You have the Shadow Council. They'll be fine. They have the Shadow Council.
They'll have them too, but
the people say this is facts. No arguing. 8.5 out of 10. I felt the joy I had watching OT with my mom as a kid. There you go. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I probably everyone's probably in probably in the range of 7 to 8. 7 to 8 probably on. I don't think anyone's in a range higher than
I noticed it seemed like they were foreshadowing, because at one point we did forget to talk about it. I do apologize. He said, light the temple up, and he starts, and you see one of them look at him like, what did you just say? Like, that's
you just dragged her whole home.
But she don't say something. She goes back. And people were, I saw some people saying, "Oh, that shows you they're going to turn on him." Here's the thing: they're witches. They're going to turn on him eventually because they're witches.
Yeah, that's their whole motive.
He is bringing their entire species back from the dead. Basically, he's going to allow them to repopulate Dathomir. I think they're going to show him a lot of loyalty and a lot of leeway. He will probably overuse it, and they're going to have to say enough's enough. But until for a certain extent, they're going to be pretty damn loyal because of him. He saved their entire species, basically, and is doing everything he said he was going to do. He's going to land on Dathomir. He was going to repopulate their stuff. They're going to be pretty loyal for a while. Will they turn on him? Absolutely. But probably. But at the same time, you know, they're going to be loyal. I don't think they're going to turn on him like right away. I think they're going to be
like it comes to the idea of like in the original material with Legends, Rook was the guy who killed Thrawn. He was the guy that was also in Rebels who died anyways. But his species, he was using him as a mercenary. And then when he found out that Thrawn subjugated his people into slavery for his own personal use, and he realized that he was the reason why his people had been like, you know, dying and all this stuff, he turned on Thrawn in a moment of just pure emotion and killed him. And Thrawn's like, "Yep, you killed me. Fair enough," and died. So I wouldn't be surprised.
He was a Kingslayer, like Jaime Lannister.
Basically, the Kingslayer, Jaime Lannister. So I wouldn't imagine in this new instance with these witches that it might be something similar, where the Dathomirians are the ones that kill Thrawn in that way.
Probably.
Which, you know, isn't a bad idea. Again, is it how they have to do a new canon, how they have to do these ideas is differently.
And it might be
I love Dathomir. I love all the bringing them back in here.
Because obviously Thrawn has to lose. Spoiler alert, Thrawn is going to have to lose, obviously.
Yep.
And so it might be something where they don't really want to, but it's a losing cause and they see it. So to keep them from being bombarded themselves and being wiped out again, because they're going to be desperate to keep themselves going now. There is no plan B anymore. There's no plan C, as far as we know. And they might have to turn on him. They might turn on him just to save themselves. Like they might say, "We're gonna have to jump ship because if we don't, they're gonna come for us next. So we're gonna have to do that thing." All right, so that's the end of it. Ahsoka's in the books. I think we said that we were going to take at least next week off, and then we're jumping back into the deep dive of characters. There's got to be a random band member that we haven't talked about yet, and other things.
We'll be going back to regular schedule, and hopefully with our other member, will be around off his currently long break. We have a third member, yeah. Oh. No, hoping he'll be back for after his long break, and will rejoin us for lots of fun here.
So if you're listening to this and you want to hear a deep dive, I mean, you could even pick. If you pick Luke Skywalker, we're probably gonna say not without a whole bunch of notice, but
yeah, if you request characters, we've actually accepted many requests and done them. Yeah, just don't pick anyone that has like 1,000 things I have to take images and download stuff off. Please, I don't want to be spending my whole week.
Don't listen to him. Pick whatever you want. But if you want to pick even like some Rebels, if you want some more stories, or the Witches of Dathomir, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Just let us know if you have any suggestions. You can leave them in the comments below. I want to thank you guys for watching.